nearly 700,000 people. That is the number of people who have left the United Kingdom in just 1 year. You heard it right. This number is equivalent to the entire population of the city of Sheffield has just disappeared from the world map. This is not just about international students going home or foreign workers finishing their contracts, but also hundreds of thousands of British citizens who once thought they would build their entire lives on this island. Instead, they are packing their bags and starting over in Australia, Canada, Spain, or even across the Atlantic Ocean. How ironic. While millions still yearn to set foot here to touch the British dream, those born under this sky are finding every way to escape their homeland. What has happened to England? Is the British dream becoming an export commodity where outsiders are eager to buy in while insiders are hastily selling off to find an escape route? In today's video, we will uncover the hidden aspects of the record-breaking wave of immigration that is gnawing at the trust of this nation. Let's find the answer together. Is England changing, or is it gradually becoming impossible? For those of us who have lived through and witnessed the glorious, prosperous decades of the 80s or 90s, it may be hard to believe when facing the reality now. The United Kingdom, once a magnet for the world's prosperity, now resembles an old train station where people hurriedly line up to buy one-way tickets to leave. According to the long-term migration statistics from the Office for National Statistics, in less than a year, it is estimated that around 693,000 people have emigrated from the United Kingdom, equivalent to about 2,000 people disappearing from this promised land each day. Among them, it is estimated that around 252,000 are native British citizens. Let's do a quick calculation. With only about 143,000 Britons returning home, we are facing a net migration loss of around 109,000 people. Of course, policymakers will still proudly declare that the UK's population is estimated to have reached a record 69.3 million people. However, they might have deliberately glossed over the fact that most of that record was patched up by a net inflow of international immigrants amounting to 738,700 people. Meanwhile, the natural increase. The number of births minus the number of deaths is only about 16,200 people. It's nothing but a deceptive lens. The population on the surface seems to be skyrocketing, but the core British force carrying long-standing cultural and intellectual identity is bleeding out day by day. It's ridiculous that a country once proud of being a magnet for talent to build a global empire, from skilled engineers to doctors, has now turned into a professional transit hub importing population seemingly only to push its own citizens away. This is not just the story of retirees seeking sunshine in the Mediterranean. This seems to be a fierce brain drain of the younger population and highly skilled professionals. The Currency Survey in 2024 indicates that 23% of adults in the UK are planning to leave the island within the next 5 years. In fact, 12% of them are seriously preparing to pack their bags and leave within the next 12 months. They are looking to Australia, Canada, the USA, and Spain. Some people call this a migration of hope, but perhaps many of us perceive it as a sentence from a deep loss of faith in the current system. Will the familiar cobblestone streets we grew up on still retain the essence of England? Or are we witnessing an irreversible demographic shift? But why are they leaving now in peacetime? Let's take a closer look at a brutal survival battle that perhaps hasn't been seen since the 70s, where life in England is becoming increasingly impossible. Perhaps the feeling of a United Kingdom becoming increasingly unlivable is no longer just a complaint from those who like to grumble, but a harsh economic sentence. Can you believe it? When prices here have skyrocketed by more than 20% in just 3 short years, especially in the kitchen, the heart of every family. Food prices alone have increased by more than 30%. That was a brutal blow as the purchasing power was devastated in the past 3 years, even heavier than the combined impact of the previous 13 years. In 2022, we witnessed inflation peak at 11.1%, a record figure that the younger generation may have never known, and the older generation thought they had buried in memories from the 80s. But the reality is not just in the dry charts. It lies in the energy bills that skyrocketed by 54% in April of that year, followed by another 27% increase in October. Even if politicians jubilantly announce that energy prices have cooled down, the reality is that your wallet is still bearing costs 43% higher than in the winter of 2021. Our management system has created a very elegant term, fuel poverty. It sounds very professional, but what is its essence? That is more than 3 million households having to make a bitter choice every day: turn on the heater to avoid freezing or choose a proper meal. When 13% of the population in England falls into this situation, we cannot call it negligence. It is a systemic collapse. Ironically, this burden is not shared equally. If you are a renter, you are the soldiers standing on the front lines bearing the brunt of cost inflation much higher than those who have managed to own a home. Meanwhile, our economy seems to have been asleep for the past 15 years with stagnant real wages. When looking at neighbors like France, Germany, or the USA, we see a regrettable productivity gap. England is like an old rusty car lacking investment in its engine and skills, yet expecting to lead the global race. Worse still, the future outlook is not very bright either, with average income projected to increase by a mere 0.3% each year, a growth rate as slow as nails growing. With 91% of Britons feeling that the cost of living continues to rise, fatigue has deeply penetrated the faith of the middle class. If working hard for a lifetime is no longer enough to maintain a warm home and a complete meal, then where has the promise of prosperity for England gone? Where have we gone wrong in the way this economy operates?